Join the Resistance and redeem your name in Arkane Studios' first-person stealth action-adventure title, Dishonored, which launched on PC, PS3, and Xbox 360. Will this game deliver a unique experience, or like the citizens of Dunwall, will the rat plague leave you feeling a little uneasy? Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the review of Dishonored. I'm Voyce.
I'm Tess.
So Dishonored is a game that's developed by Arkane Studios and published by my favorite, Bethesda. Now, right off the bat, the storyline is the weakest part of the entire package. Now, the story revolves around your main character, whose name is Corvo. He's just returned from this expedition to try and find a solution to this rat plague that's infested the region. He meets up with the Empress. She's murdered. He's framed for it, and her daughter is kidnapped. He's thrown into prison. That's pretty much where the story starts off.
The story was the weakest link. The beginning goes really fast. It just starts at this point and you don't know the background. You don't know your background, basically. You're just thrown into this story.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's honestly a little too typical. We've seen these kind of stories before about betrayal and things like that. Now, I'm not going to spoil the story, but there's a plot twist towards the end of it, and nothing that happens in the story will really make you feel like, oh, wow, I haven't seen this before, because you've seen it 1,000 times, and that's my main problem. And the story doesn't really try to make you feel involved in it, despite the fact that the background, the lore behind it is really rich. There's this whole whaling industry that kind of drives their economy. There's the story of this outsider, godlike person that gives you these powers. The story doesn't really try to explain why that happened. If you want to find out really what's going on, you have to read a lot of the books and texts that are found throughout the game. It kind of sucks that they don't explore these things in game. You don't really feel emotionally attached to it.
You never know why you're chosen. You have all these powers, but why do you have these powers? You really have to do a lot of game playing in this. You need at least 20 hours into it to go through every nook and cranny and read every paper. Once you pick up the paper, it's about 3 paragraphs long.
Yeah.
And you have to spend the time to do that.
I appreciate having a game where there's extra content for you to explore, but in this game, it feels like for you to really get something out of it, you really have to put the time into it. At least the game itself should feed you something. By the time you get to the end of the game, you don't feel necessarily like you did anything that really mattered. You don't feel involved. You don't even care about any of the characters. None of them stood out for me. Actually, for the most part of the game, I confused characters for other characters. They just all look the same.
I don't remember anybody's name, really, other than Carbo and Emily.
I know Carbo, Emily, and Sam, and that's it. Like I said, the entire universe behind it, the lore is really rich. Unfortunately, the game didn't explore that. There are a lot of side quests. I would encourage you to do them. One of them in particular that revolves around Granny Rags. Towards the end of the game, there's a cool conclusion. That was by far the highlight of the game. Everything else just felt like it was just dragging on.
The storytelling is so muddled that you never feel attached to the events in the story whatsoever.
You'll say that the saving grace of this game is the gameplay.
That was my favorite part of the game. The gameplay is fantastic if you play it more in the combat. It's a really open game. With it, you can play stealth, you can play combat, or you can play a mix of the two. It depends on how you want to go. The first way I approached the game was combat. It's normally the way I always go, and I had a lot of fun with the game, where you took a different approach.
Not only did I take the stealth approach, I took the non-lethal stealth approach. And what does that mean? Especially at the beginning, a whole lot of waiting for guards to go through their on-the-rails motion, go behind them, and you choke them out. You really are limited as to what you can use to be stealthy. Now, with that being said, if you want to, you can go through the sewers, you can take the main road. This game gives you a whole lot of options of how you want to approach the situation. I just kind of felt that the game was heavily weighted in combat. All of the weapons you had were predominantly combat oriented. You had grenades, even your magic. The game does reward you for playing stealthy. How you play the game affects the outcome. Throughout the game, missions will change.
If you choose more of the bad guy approach, the game starts to get darker in some points. The color contrast is fantastic. We'll get to that later. The approach of it changes everything in the game that I really loved about it.
The Weepers, which are people who've been really affected by the plague. If you kill people, as time goes on, there'll be more Weepers. Civilians will hate you. Everyone was all cool with me. Because you killed everyone. There'll be more rats running around. The rats are cool, run up to you and literally eat you. Now, I did like the magic aspect. There are runes that you find, and these runes let you upgrade your magic. Dark vision that lets you see through walls.
Which is great for stealth mode.
Which is really great for me. I hate the filter of dark vision. I don't know if it's just me, but this low frequency frequency muffly sound that you hear when you equip the dark vision that just irritates me, as well as when you have your heart out to find these rooms scattered throughout the game.
There's only one problem with it for you. When you stealth, in your right hand you have the sword, and on your left hand you can go through a scrolling wheel and pick your powers. Now for the stealth, you don't want that sword because you want to come behind somebody and choke them other than stab them in the neck, which was really cool for my part, or slice them in the head. You're always using things in your left hand and you can't switch your right. So you have this hand that's doing nothing. If you can kind of split the wheel into two, that'd be a lot better. So now you can use both of your hands. For me, it was fine.
Because you were just killing people. I had to keep switching between the dark vision, crossbow equipped with sleeping darts, blink where you can zip from place to place instantly, but you have to pull it out in order to use it. So you're
basically stopping the game to scroll through. So it's almost like you're pausing it at all times.
There is this shortcut we can use. The problem with that though is that you only have 4. I kept going into the wheel and pausing the game-ish and then coming back, and
which takes a lot longer to play the game.
Frustrating. It's frustrating. Honestly, listen, if you're gonna play this game, play some sort of mix. Don't do what I did. Don't go all stealth. Now, once you get some of the magic further down the line, things like freeze time, then
it's freeze time.
Then you freeze time and literally just run around and just kill people or knock them out. You also find these bone charms affect your physical attributes or gameplay elements, carry enemies faster, climb slightly faster.
Something great for you is that the chokehold, instead of 3 seconds, if you maxed it out, it would be 1 second. So it's a little easier to choke people. One of my favorite powers in the game was that you can actually conjure rats. You summon rats. Instead of the rats attacking you, you can actually summon a bunch of rats from the ground and they actually eat the guards, but it's so detailed that they just rip apart the skin until there's nothing but bones left. I thought that was really interesting, and since I played combat, I got to actually do that.
I didn't get to do any of that stuff, but then again, she's a crazy rat lady. My favorite power was the one where I could increase the ratio of albino rats, because apparently that's necessary. You got to play with grenades.
Yeah, the spring razor.
Spring razor.
That was awesome as well.
She got to rewire the electric fences that have people get murdered by these things, whereas I got to zip around and use dark vision, slow down time.
I get to stab people in the neck. One thing that I really liked about the game is that when you pick up objects, they immediately turn into coins. So you're not carrying around all this stuff that kind of slows you down. You actually never run out of breath in the game whatsoever. That's another thing I liked about it.
Which makes definitely no sense. The mission structure was kind of rinse and repeat. For the most part, it was get into an area, then make your way to another place, kill someone, knock them out, or some sort of conclusion to it. The game actually does get more interesting at the end. At that point, I actually saw how the game could have been if it really just went full out. Although you say the gameplay is the best part, I have to agree with you, it is. I still felt like there were things missing.
Well, it could be the way you play it too.
So let's just get into the way the game looks and sounds. Art design is fantastic.
Oh, it's impeccable.
I love the setting.
The whole steampunk / it's Victorian fictional city of Dunwall, which is based after London. That scenic already is beautiful, and then you have this steampunk mixed in with the whaling industry. The colors are just fantastic. There's a soft texture to the whole city. The lighting changes the way you play. If you play more good, you're gonna have a brighter setting.
I have to disagree on the color. There are only a few places where there's color. Everything else is just gray. You're in these gray places.
Well, because you're in the alleyways of rats. So how much light can be reflected off a rat.
One of the best missions though for me, I'm not gonna spoil anything again guys, but it's a masquerade. That was by far the best mission, not only graphically, but also from a gameplay point of view, because it kind of changed up what you were doing. My complaint with the graphics though is the characters and the way they look. I'm not a big fan of the overly blocky-esque look.
Yeah, you kind of walk by somebody really quickly and it's a blur a little bit. I didn't like that about it.
Although there's an entire section where you're pretty much in a brothel, there are no hot girls in this game, okay? I was excited to go into the brothel and I was disappointed when I got there, like most things in my life. Now the music, it's good, it fits the tone. In terms of voiceover work, the main characters all do a pretty decent job. The guards and repeated audio gets on my nerves because I got so sick and tired of hearing the guards say the exact same things. All in all, Dishonored is a good game. It's a fantastic game. The story was the weakest part. Gameplay definitely saves it. Graphically, it's fantastic. The way the blocky characters look got on my nerves. But all in all, for me, good stuff.
It was great for me too. You have to play it at least a couple times. Some people have. Try it one way, and then if you feel compelled to do it, try it another way, and I think you'll get a different story to it because there are different endings. Thanks for watching, and let us know what you thought about our show and Dishonored. Leave your comments in the box below.
Also, you can subscribe to our channel, you can like us on Facebook, or you can follow us on Twitter. We'll see you next time on The GamerNerdz.
So thanks for watching. Let us know what you thought about Dishonored and our segment tonight, and leave your comments in the thud.
Leave your comments in the thud. Okay, guys?
In the thud.
Guys, there's a thud. Alright, guys, so we're looking for the comments. Look for the thud. Usually, when Batman punches someone, it says thud in the old comics. Just look for that and write it down in the thud.